Call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone here this evening. We want to open our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask David Newkirk, who is the principal of Zebulon Elementary, to come and lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. The next is we have the approval of the agenda. There's a couple of modifications we need to add under planning, item 3, resolution 2019-09, which has to do with the house on Lee Street. And then we would want to do away with the closed session.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda as changed.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? And the motion carries. Each month during the school year, we recognize at the first meeting an outstanding teacher and student from one of our public schools, and they are both from Zebulon Elementary School this month. They were unable to be here, I believe, because of some family situation. I'll leave it at that. So accepting for them will be David Newkirk, principal of Zebulon Elementary. So before I call him up, I want to just read you a little script about both of them. The teacher is Ms. Robin Rambo, and she has been a teacher at Zebulon Elementary School for the past 17 years. In that span of time, Ms. Rambo has taught at just about every grade level offered, served as the academically and intellectually gifted teacher, and has been the instructional resource teacher. Ms. Rambo has been a rock star in all of these positions. Ms. Rambo serves as the instructional resource teacher, and in that role, Ms. Rambo is responsible for all things academic. The list of specific elements she is responsible for is exhaustive, but following is a sampling. Ms. Rambo creates the calendar of events for the school. She organizes and prepares professional learning teams. She collaborates with teams and shares changes in curriculum. She manages the standardized testing schedule, which includes creating a test plan, ordering supplies, maintaining test security, creating a plan of where students will test, and assigns test administrators and proctors. The complete list of responsibilities for Ms. Rambo is never ending, but she completes each task every day with a smile and a kind word to her colleagues. She approaches her work not for personal gratification, but for the benefit of the students she cares for so deeply at Zebulon Elementary. I'm honored to recognize Ms. Robin Rambo as our Spotlight teacher this month. And our student is actually her daughter.
Yes.
So Reese Allen has been a student at Zebulon Elementary for the past 6 years. She is a very hardworking student and loves to read. When she's not reading her favorite book, Reese loves to play the piano. She is part of the Student Ambassador Program, which provides leadership opportunities for students in the school. Reese is kind and compassionate and always helps a friend in need. One of her favorite things to do is to assist Miss Flory in the library. She wants to be a librarian, and when she grows up. Reese has one sister, one dog, and 5 cats, and she is proud to be a Zebulon Elementary School Cougar. Appreciate it. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing concerning Wakeland Historic Landmark designation. So I will call that hearing to order and ask anyone that wishes to speak. Well, John, you're going to do a staff report? Yes. Okay, all right.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. I'll be brief. It is exciting to have the Wakeland building, the building that we're currently in, up for local historic landmark designation. I will give a very brief kind of overview and timeline. Gary Roth with Capital Area Preservation is here to provide a little bit of history to the building itself. And then I'll kind of sum it up with some discussion about the ordinance and some of the options that are before you. With that, on March 6th, 2017, Zebulon adopted an interlocal agreement to join the Wake County Historic Preservation Program. And on January 8th of 2018, this year, Zebulon directed the Wake County Historic Preservation Commission to fund a study that was required for the landmark designation itself. Back in May 29th, State Historic Preservation Office provided their review and recommendation on the report itself. And then at the October 22nd Commissioners' work session, you reviewed the report and provided some comments to ourselves and to Capital Area Preservation. And then tonight, we've got the public hearing for the designation of the building, and again, some considerations for the ordinance itself, which is Ordinance 2019-13. With that, I will switch over between presentations and have Gary Roth come up and let me... All right.
Thanks, Mark. Good evening, everybody. I bring greetings to you from Mr. Ed Morris, who's the chairman of the Wake County Historic Preservation Commission. And I should mention that Mr. Jeff Hastings, who is the vice chair, is here tonight. And when we come to the point for the Wake County their recommendation on the designation, he will offer that to you. The address, of course, is 1003 North Rundle Avenue, Zebulon, North Carolina. And you, of course, the town of Zebulon, the people of Zebulon, are the owner of this building. The Wakeland School is an eclectic 1909 building situated at the north end of the historic core of the town of Zebulon. The landmark boundary includes the Wakeland School building, 5.1 acres of the 6-acre parcel that it occupies. And I should add that the 5.1 acres represents a tad more than half of the 10 acres donated by Dr. G.M. Bell in the early 1900s. The 1950 school building that now houses the Zebulon Police Department and the parking lot behind it are not included in the proposed boundary. The two-story hip-roof brick-clad building displays both neoclassical and Italianate elements. Its most dramatic feature is an engaged octagonal tower with dome roof that rises at the center of the facade. The building has a large addition dating to 1914 that doubled its size and duplicated the massing, materials, and architectural style of the original section. The building housed a school from construction into the early 1980s. Wakeland School was born in part out of the cooperation of the neighboring villages of Wakefield and Zebulon. Wakefield grew up in the 1880s around the private Wakefield Academy. In 1906, the new Norfolk and Southern Railroad line from Raleigh to Washington, North Carolina, passed 1.5 miles south of Wakefield. A railroad stockholder, Ed Barbie, and Wakefield native Falk Arundel developed a town at the spot on the line nearest to Wakefield and formed the Zebulon Company. The new town's charter dates to 1907, a year after the train started running. The sibling towns prospered in those early years of the 20th century. Wakefield Academy, like its counterpart Cary Academy, Founded in 1870 on the west side of the county, was well known and attracted both local and boarding students. In 1907, North Carolina established a statewide system of high schools. Wake County's population allotted it 4 high schools. The stockholders of the private Cary High School acted quickly, selling the school to the County Board of Education. Knowing that private high schools like those in Cary and Wakefield had brought renown and business to rural communities, Wake County towns of Bayleaf, Garner, Fuquay Springs, Holly Springs, Rollsville, Wendell, Wakefield, and Zebulon all vied to secure one of the remaining assignments. The board awarded schools at Bayleaf in northern Wake County and Holly Springs in the southwest. Zebulon and Wakefield joined forces and earned a school for eastern Wake County. It would be located between them and be known as Wakeland. The following year, the legislature merged the Wakefield and Zebulon school districts. The state provided funds for a building, and residents of the 2 towns raised another $8,000 for its construction. As mentioned, Dr. G.M. Bell donated a 10-acre site, a portion of his cornfield between the towns. Architect Charles E. Hartke drew plans. The school opened in 1908, even before the building was ready, holding classes in Midway School and the Wakefield Academy building. The 1909 front section of the building was complete by the close of that year, and the 11-room steam-heated building was in service in January 1910. The first full year in the new school was 1910 to 1911. The following school year, 8 Norway maples were planted in the central plot of lawn. Wake County historian Kelly Lally calls the building erected for Wakeland School the most imposing of Wake County's early 20th century public schools. Most school buildings of the period were small, frame structures of 1 or 2 rooms, often built with materials and labor provided by the community. Other early 20th century buildings in Zebulon, including brick commercial buildings of 1 and 2 stories, most with detailing typical of the period like step parapets, segmental arch windows, and brick corbelling. A number of framed Queen Anne dwellings populate the historic residential streets. Similar examples of the neoclassical or Italianate styles do not exist, so the school is an exception. From its opening, Wakeland School had the largest enrollment of all 4 new Wake County high schools. Wake became the first county in the state to provide transportation to public schools in 1910. When a hired driver and board purchased wagon transported students in St. Matthews and Neuse River townships. The following year, the board purchased a second wagon to help students around Zebulon get to the Wakeland School. Over the next decade, Zebulon's population nearly doubled from 483 to 953, thanks in part to its busy tobacco market. Boarding students attended Wakeland, as well as locals, staying in private homes and at the hotel owned by Dr. Bell at the corner of Arundel Avenue and North Street. The hotel, Arundel Avenue and North Street. The hotel was converted into a dormitory for male students who lived under the supervision of the school's principal and his wife. The need to expand the school was evident, and in 1913, a successful vote to issue bonds provided the needed funds. The rear addition was complete by 1914. Around the same time, the school purchased a farm and created an agriculture and home economics department that served the eastern part of the agricultural county well. The student population grew from 221 in 1910 to 416 in 1916. That year, another bond issue enabled construction of a 30-room dormitory for girls. Later, a 10-room dormitory was built for boys. In 1970, James E. Shepard became Zebulon High School, and Wakeland became solely the Zebulon Elementary School, which continued through the 1980s. Glaxo Incorporated purchased the then decommissioned school campus and rehabilitated the historic building. Other structures on the site were demolished. Notably, Glaxo removed the replacement window sash and installed new sash that reproduced the patterns of the originals. The company also replicated the missing porch roof balustrade. The town purchased a 6-acre parcel from Glaxo in 2009 and put the Wakeland High School building into use as town hall and the 1950 school building as the Zebulon Police Department. The building has been altered, particularly in the last quarter of the 20th century. In 1975, when the building was listed in the National Register of Historic Places, it retained much of the interior plan and fabric. Changes have been made, but the original plan remained recognizable. Today, the architectural integrity of the exterior is remarkably intact. The building retains most of its original architectural details. The massing remains the same, with only the loss of roof dormers seen in historic images. The setting of the Wakeland School remains largely the same as in the 1910s. Despite the addition of surface parking lots, the stately early 20th century Wakeland High School dormitories school dominates the large parcel that is planted with lawns and trees. A tree-lined semicircular drive passes by the building's entrance and through the lawn that fills the front third of the parcel. A brick and stone paved square immediately east of the drive at the front of the building commemorates its centennial. A small fountain is at the center of the square. The stone pavers are inscribed with the names of sponsors. The drive also branches to the right, leading to a double-loaded parking lot along the center north edge of the parcel. It joins at a right angle another double-loaded lot directly behind the building. A broad paved drive exits the parcel at West Judd Street from the south end of the lot. Lawn fills the back third of the parcel beyond these paved parking areas. The eclectic architectural design of the Wakeland School combines Italianate and neoclassical features. A belt course, corner coins, segmental and round arches, and hooded windows reflect the Italianate style, while the paired windows, boxed eave, and symmetry at each elevation are neoclassical elements. Front view. The octagonal tower at the facade is engaged and has a taller ground floor displaying 5 of 8 sides until it rises above the main roof line to show the entire domical octagonal roof. The tower's second story does not align with that of the rest of the building, and its dome sits atop a louvered drum. A louvered lantern with paneled balustrade finishes the dome. Front entrances flank the tower, sheltered by small porches nestled into the corner formed by the tower wall with the facade. Archways lead onto the porches from the front and free sides. The round arches with keystones are of iron-flecked cream brick that spring from red brick pilasters. The glass doors and all window sash are replacements, the sash replicating patterns seen in the early 20th century photographs. Tower windows at the first floor are 1/1 sash under multi-light transoms with rusticated granite sills and lintels. Above those are multi-light fixed sash windows in segmental arched openings with keystoned hoods of the cream-colored brick and rusticated granite sills. The uppermost windows are 1/1 sash with granite lintels and sills. Low-relief plaster swags set into plaster panels adorn the 3 centermost spandrels below these windows. Back. There. A variety of materials help express these styles and contribute to a lively appearance. The red brick building has granite sills and lintels at some windows and keystone brick window hoods at others. Cream-colored brick flecked with iron forms the hoods, providing contrast with the red brick. The same cream-colored brick forms a water table, belt courses, spandrel panels, corner coins, and archways. Slate shingles cover the sloped and domed roof surfaces. The 2-story building's massing is complex but relentlessly symmetrical. Bays, projections, and recesses break the plane at every elevation. The 1909 portion is a roughly square plan building with slightly projecting sections at the center of the facade, and at the back third of each 6-bay side elevation. A recessed hyphen joins the main block to the 1914 rear block. Those side elevations are mirror images of the original building, in service to the symmetry of the neoclassical style. The facade and rear elevations both have center projecting sections flanked by 2 bays of the main structure. But when the facade has a center tower, the rear elevation has a simple recessed entrance. All sections have either hip or deck-on-hip roofs, unified by a continuous eave with box cornice. Elsewhere, fenestration patterns and detailing are consistent across all elevations. First floor windows are 1/1 sash under multi-light transoms with rusticated granite sills and lintels. Second story windows are multi-light over 1 sash set into segmental arched openings with keystone hoods of cream, iron fleck brick, and rusticated granite sills. Windows at both stories occur singly and in pairs. Red brick pilasters with capitals of cream brick separate window bays at all elevations. Other architectural details are rendered in the cream-colored brick, unifying the overall design. Panels accent spandrels at each floor, and coins mark the corners of all projections. A belt course ties into the keystones of the second-story window hoods at both the main building and the tower, and another belt course underscores the corbelled red brick cornice at the tower. Architectural flourishes include plaster medallions above the coins and reproduction balustrades at the porch roofs, with turned balusters and paneled posts set above a modillion cornice. The next slide is the floor plan of the first floor, and the interior has experienced numerous changes in the last 50 years. The center hall is intact, but materials and finishes are contemporary. Floors are carpeted, walls sheetrocked, and drop ceilings hide mechanical systems. Stairwells in the hyphen between the 1909 and 1914 blocks have exposed brick walls and show timber lintels at the windows, revealing that the granite at the exterior is decorative. Staircases are modern with open risers, cantilever treads, and metal railing, a design that allows the least obstructed view of the walls and windows. The 1914 floor plan included 23 rooms, including offices and an auditorium in the rotunda on the second floor. A finished basement in the rear section housed a lunchroom and restrooms. A pair of circa 1909 gateposts mark the entrance near the north corner of the parcel. The square posts are of red brick topped with 3 courses of iron fleck cream-colored brick. Below a rowlock course of red bricks. Footed iron planters with rounded bases and flared openings cap the great gateposts. A modern metal fence extends from each gatepost across the northeast and northwest parcel lines, and a metal gate is between the posts. Chain link fencing is at the other parcel lines. Significant statement. Wakeland School is significant in Wake County's history in the area of education as one of the first 4 public high schools built in the county under the 1907 state law. It was both a public high school and public elementary originally, enabling such institutions. The building is significant in Wake County and in Zebulon in the area of architecture as a rare and excellent example of an eclectic design combining the neoclassical and Italianate styles. The building retains distinctive materials and original architectural details, preserving its integrity of materials, design, and workmanship. The setting remains similar to its original appearance as an open campus surrounding the imposing building set back from the road. Wakeland School and its surroundings therefore retain integrity of setting, association, and feeling. The Wake County Historic Preservation Commission staff recommendation is as follows. We recommend that the Zebulon Board of Commissioners designate the Wakeland High School located at 1003 North Arundel Avenue, Zebulon, as a Zebulon Historic Landmark and adopt the associated ordinance. And to present the Wake County Commission recommendation, I ask Vice Chair Jeff Hastings to come to the podium.
Thank you, Gary. Mayor, Council. At its meeting on June 12, 2018, the Wake County Historic Preservation Commission unanimously recommended that the Zebulon Board of Commissioners designate the Wakeland School as a Zebulon Historic Landmark.
Thanks, Jeff. This concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Are you through with staff report?
I just have a few of the options that are listed in the staff report to go over. The first option that you have before you is the one that Gary put forth, which has the blue outline, kind of follows the drive, encompasses the rear portion of the lot. It is roughly 5.1 acres. The second option is this red line here, kind of cuts off the rear property. So it only includes the drive, the parking area, the building, and then the front portions. Both options do include the gate post at the front that Gary mentioned as well. So this option does cut off the rear lot. I wasn't able to modify their map, but that is the two options before you. So if you choose to designate the Wakeland School as a local historic landmark, that would be the first item before you. And then whether or not you want to include the two rear lots, the rear lot in option 1 or not include it in option 2. And if you don't wish to designate it, then the ordinance 2019-03 wouldn't be adopted. So those are two options before you. Certainly there are other options if you chose to modify it. I will say that with either option, we will certainly make sure that the maps and acreages are updated in the ordinance for signature. And that's it, if you have any questions.
Questions? Thank you. Anyone else in wishing to speak? Okay, if not, we'll close the public hearing and the matter comes up later on our agenda. The next item is a public comment period. At the regular meeting each month, we allow public comment of up to 3 minutes per person. So are the lights up? Yep. Pardon? I can't hear you.
I said I'm just going to leave it right here, if that's okay.
Yeah, as long as they can see it. Okay. Okay, please pay attention to the lights. Green is you're good, yellow is you've got, I think, 30 seconds, and red, I'm going to call you down or ask you to wrap it up. So first one this evening is Scott Carpenter.
Good evening. Mr. Mayor, Town Commissioners, Mr. Town Manager and staff, Mr. Roth and staff. My name is Dr. Scott Carpenter, and I represent the local grassroots community group known as Preservation Zebulon. We support historic preservation in all forms, and we enthusiastically support Zebulon. After all, preservation and Zebulon are two parts of the name of our group. And we are overjoyed tonight and to offer our support and to thank you as you consider proceeding with making Wake Campus a local historic landmark. For people that love preservation, there's nothing better than hearing the wonderful presentation Mr. Roth just gave about something that is so dear and important to this town, and just to hear all of those details. We love it. It was a great presentation. Thank you, Mr. Roth. We are in particular in support of the Wake Campus and the entire campus, so what you see as, I guess, ordinance option 1, so all of the land. We consider it a landmark, not just a building. It's not called a building mark. Local historic landmark status is but one very important step that you can take. And there are many other steps that we look to you to make happen, and hopefully soon. Other nearby towns have established historic districts. Zebulon does not. Other nearby towns have designated local historic landmarks. Zebulon has 0, and the designation of the Wake Campus would be the first. Other nearby towns build into their budget funding for historic preservation and conservation. Zebulon does not. I'm sure you saw the recent headlines in our hometown newspaper, the Zebulon Times. Front page news reporting that the town of Wendell has purchased a historic building that will become the town's museum. The action stands alone and speaks for itself. Other nearby towns work to restore, repair, preserve, improve, and promote their iconic structures. Zebulon does not. That action also stands alone. A local historic landmark status for Wake Lawn campus is an important recognition that is well-deserved. It is important, and our group has expressed back to you in February of this year. We hope that you vote to support that effort. However, even more so, establishing a historic district will directly impact and benefit more businesses and citizens than a few local landmarks. So we hope that we all work together to make that happen too. And we hope that can happen soon before tax credits expire that could help up to 340 buildings and the businesses and residents that own them. We love preservation and we love Zebulon, and we support all programs and recognitions that help promote Zebulon to that end. We support you, and we hope you support us as we strive to work together for the preservation of Zebulon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Carolyn Campbell.
Greetings to everyone and council. I'm here representing the rural area where I live in the Raleigh area for the internet service. In my area, AT&T have a monopoly over the internet, and no one else, no other company can come in to, give the rural areas internet. And I was just wondering if there's anything that the commission could do to have AT&T not to be dominant over the area that no one else can come in to give people internet service. I had internet service with AT&T for over 20 years, and when Verizon decided, well, they didn't decide, but they talked my husband into, getting them. And then when their service was not good, and we tried to go back to AT&T, they will not, they said there was no internet service available. And when I tried to get other internet service, they said the AT&T had a monopoly over it, and I was just wondering if anything that could be done. Thank you.
Okay. I would ask you to get with our planning department staff, and they can probably answer those questions for you. Denise Nowell.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. On behalf of the Zebulon Chamber of Commerce, I wanted to share just a couple of updates and then let you know about an upcoming event. As you know, the local DMV contract was ended through the Chamber, and we're excited to let you know that the DOT did commit to keeping the agency in eastern Wake County. And we're thrilled tonight to let you know, you may have seen it recently in the paper, that there has been a contract awarded to someone for Zebulon. So it's not just in eastern Wake County, it's right here in Zebulon. The new contractor has yet to announce the location, and he's actively pursuing a suitable home for our license plate agency. So as more develops, we'll let you know. An update on some downtown developments. In response to some inquiries and emerging business interests for downtown, the Chamber and the town are working together to provide downtown businesses with an opportunity to work together. This is right in line with your town's strategic plan that specifically addresses the need for a thriving downtown. In August, 25 business leaders met for an open conversation to talk about things like, where are we today? What have we lost? What do we need to be successful as a downtown? And what do we want to become? A follow-up meeting is being planned, and we'll update you as things progress. We're excited to see this moving forward, and we think it's going to be a great next step for our downtown. And then another thing, you may have gotten a handout from Lisa earlier. In 2016, the town and the chamber worked together to create an economic growth conference, and the conference was really successful. We were hoping for somewhere between 60 and 80 people, and we had like 98, which was great. And The conversation progresses from statewide updates on what's going on for the state of North Carolina. It comes down to a little more local for the county, and then funnels right down to what's going on right here for Zebulon and what are some of the impacts that we're having. So you can see some of the folks that are already slated to speak for us. Chris Chung is the CEO of the Economic Development Partnership for North Carolina. Danya Perry is the manager for Equitable Economic Development. And then Michael Haley is the executive director for the Wake County Economic Development Group as well. So the date is Thursday, October 4. I look forward to having you there with us. And then for business owners and the general public, you're welcome as well. It's going to be held at East Wake Academy. And for more information, you can go to the ZebulonChamber.org for details. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have a proclamation of Firefighters Week for September the 9th through September the 15th, and we have with us our fire chief tonight, Chris Perry. So I don't think this is just Zebulon proclamation, but I did want to recognize you as being here. Bear with me, I'm going to read it. Whereas fighting fires is one of the most hazardous professions requiring physical strength, stamina, extensive training, courage, and selfless concern for the welfare of others. And whereas firefighters provide valuable services to the citizens of Zebulon and surrounding areas. And whereas firefighters make sacrifices to protect the lives and financial interests of the citizens of Zebulon. And whereas firefighters respond to emergencies without hesitation when the call of duty arises. Whereas firefighters have a great appreciation for protecting their communities. Whereas our firefighters are a combination of both paid and volunteer professionals who are dedicated to the service of this community. And whereas the North Carolina General Assembly resolved that the week containing September 11th as Firefighters Week in North Carolina each year. Now therefore, we, the Board of Commissioners of the town of Zebulon, do hereby proclaim September 9th through September 15th, 2018 as Firefighters Week and call upon all citizens to recognize the duties and services that firefighters perform. Adopted this 10th day of September 2018, so I would ask for a motion for that adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? And the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chris, and thank your firefighters for us as well. Okay. Next item is the consent agenda.
To approve, please.
Motion made and second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor? And the motion carries. Okay, let me get my stuff straight here. All right. Next is the Wakeland Building Landmark designation. You have heard the public hearings, and you have two options in front of you. Is there a motion? Or you got something to say again? Okay.
Not unless you have any questions.
Okay. I personally would hope you would do option 2, but it's not your call, it's mine.
Well, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2019-13, option 2.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion's made and second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor? And the motion carries. Thank you very much. So option 2, you'll need to modify for that, okay? All right. So we'll need to update this application.
We'll update the map along with ordinance prior to getting signatures to make sure that the map and the acreage match
Okay.
and are accurate.
All right. Thank you very much. Next is Special Use 2017-01 Barrington Subdivision.
All right, thank you again. This is Barrington subdivision back before you again. Again, this is a request by Charles Walker and 264 Investments. The site address, there's a few properties included that are listed there that total 210 acres. It's currently, for the most part, vacant, and the existing zoning is R20. I'll get into, this is an area of the properties that are included within the request. Just to get your bearings straight, Old Bun Road runs kind of east-west, and then Parks Village north-south, and then 64 and 264 are noted there. Barrington subdivision is approximately 837 total units. This is a conceptual plan. The only real change from when it was approved before, and I'll get into a little bit of the history a little bit later, is the open space that's noted on the eastern property boundary along the Hendrickson property there. So the TH is townhomes, which are noted kind of on the east and west side of the development. There is some single family spread throughout the development, and then what they're calling paired single family or duplexes are kind of across the street on the south side of Old Bun Road. So it does include a recreation area with a pool. There are greenways throughout the development, as well as along some of the roadways. Sidewalks throughout as well, and then connections to other greenways as well. So that is kind of an overall view of the development conceptually. Again, some of the kind of just more information on the development. It is single family, paired single family townhomes. It is not to exceed 837 units. This property, or these properties, were annexed back in November of 2016. The board approved the case in February 6th of 2017. However, there was an appeal to Superior Court. Superior Court then remanded it back to the town of Zebulon to receive additional testimony on the whether or not it substantially injures the value of adjoining or abutting property. That letter is attachment 15 in your packet. And on August 13th was the joint public hearing. Just to kind of sum up some of the important parts from that, Frank Leatherman did provide a market analysis that no impairment was done on surrounding properties. And then Thurston Debnam as well gave some examples along with some of the profits that were associated with the sales of some of the nearby or adjoining properties. Again, the joint public hearing was held on the 13th of August. Pretty much everything that was introduced at the previous hearing in February was reintroduced. All the agendas, applications, attachments, all the other supporting information. I think the only new information was the settlement agreement that was provided and entered into the record. The 83 categorized conditions that were submitted were those that were approved back by the board on February 6th of 2017. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the special use permit with the conditions as proposed by staff from the August 13th meeting. Staff recommends approval of this special use permit, SU 2017-01, with the proposed conditions. Those were the 83 that were originally submitted and provided. There were two additional conditions. I've kind of summed up number 84 and 85 are the only two new ones that were added, and those are referencing the actual settlement agreement with the adjoining property owner. So 84 references the additional open space on the eastern boundary pursuant to the terms of the lease agreement between the Hendricksons as well as the applicant. And then 85 deals with the existing tree preservation, whether or not some can be removed if it's damaged, dead, dying, or diseased from the open space. So the conditions go into a little bit more detail on those, but that kind of sums up the reasoning for it. The two conditions that were added were worked out between our attorneys and their attorney, so they are in agreement with that as well. So that is the only change to the conditions. The quasi-judicial requirements are board should motion on the approval or denial of the special use permit, SU 2017-01. If approved, the board need not make any findings of fact. However, if it's denied, the board must vote on one specific or each specific finding and state a reason as to why the finding was denied. Only one finding must be denied to oppose the permit, and if it's approved, then the conditions, if desired, should be stated with the motion to approve. Again, these are the quasi-judicial requirements. Proposed special use will not materially endanger the public health, safety, or welfare. The proposed special use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property. The special use will be in harmony in the area in which it is located, and the proposed special use will be in general conformity with ordinances, policies, land use plans, and all plans officially adopted by the town. So again, the choices before you are zoning denial with specific finding and stated reasons for such. If it's to approve it without conditions, then it's accepting the project as submitted. If it's approval with selected conditions, certainly we've listed those in the agenda packet, the 85 total. And then if it is tabled for further discussion.
Okay.
And if you have any
Thank you.
questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Anyone have any questions of Mark? Okay. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the planning board's recommendation with the conditions proposed by the staff for SU 2018
2017.
2017
01.
National 01.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and second. I want to ask our attorney to be sure that we dotted our i's and crossed our t's with regards to the conditions of the agreement that Barrington had with Mr. Hendrickson.
Did Commissioner Bumgarner's motion include all of the conditions that are in the staff report?
And the
Represented by
staff,
staff, yes.
Okay.
I just,
Yeah, and the conditions 84 and 85 are appropriate because they were entered into the record.
just want to be sure we don't mess up again.
Oh, that-
Not that we, well,
Yeah, well,
anyway.
yeah.
All right, thank you. I just want to be sure we're doing it right. We have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or discussion? All in favor? And the motion carries. Thank you.
One thing.
Folks, it's been a while. What you got here? Yes,
I'm sorry, I was just going to add, with the approval of that, if we can add the consistency statement.
It's
is
not
that-
necessary for a special use
Making
permit,
sure.
so we're fine, right?
All right.
Thank you for asking that.
All right.
okay, you going to do cemeteries? Okay. All right, the next item then is, no, I'm sorry, the next item is, be sure I'm getting this right. Resolution 2019-09
Yeah, this is.
regarding Lee Street. Okay,
This is a resolution that is going to void out the Resolution 2019-03. The Register of Deeds unfortunately didn't accept that resolution due to some information that needed to be added. So Resolution 2019-09 will replace that Resolution 2019-03 and void out the previous resolution. So.
okay. Questions from anybody? All right, is there a motion?
I make a motion we adopt ordinance 2019-09.
Second.
Motion made, second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor? And the motion carries. Thank you. All right, now I'm back on track with cemetery ordinance revisions.
Good evening. You may recall back in October, the October work session, we brought some possible amendments to the current cemetery ordinance, which hasn't been updated since 1985. There were a couple little about 4 things that we were looking to change/update. You'll see in your staff report are the proposed amendments in red to the ordinance itself. I'll just go touch on those 4 things briefly. First thing was the mausoleums. This is under 92.10, the depth of the grave section. We propose to basically set a standard size of mausoleums that would be allowed. Currently, it is board approval is required for each case. This would basically set a standard size for a single, the 43 inches wide, by 108 inches long, 42 inches tall, and then for the double would be 86. And the manager or his designee would basically verify this before installation. It would not be brought before the board for approval for each case. The second addition or revision we're looking to do is in 92.14, the marking of new graves section. We're looking to add a point here to any monument or marker shall be no taller than 4 foot tall. As we mentioned back at that work session, cremation is becoming more popular. And the way the ordinance is currently written, there's only 1 interment per grave, or a mother and infant child, or 2 infant children. What we're looking to change it to is 1 traditional vault burial, and 1 cremated remains, or 2 cremated remains can be in a single spot. And then we're adding that they must be placed in an urn vault before burial. And the last change is basically just setting some flexibility in the ordinance to allow for the fee to be possibly updated each year as a part of the fee schedule in each budget. Right now, it's been set at $850 in the ordinance, so any revision to that would require what we're doing now, basically. So we're just looking to set it annually in the budget fee schedule.
Okay.
And that's basically it, unless you have any questions.
Anyone have any questions?
Bobby, I thought we talked some more about other stuff too, except these new ordinances. Didn't we talk about, what bothers me more is the cemetery lots have become memorials. You know, it's so much stuff they're putting on graves now. Is there any way we can minimize that? For one thing, it's an eyesore to me. When you ride through there, you see this. I don't know. It's just not. And also for the maintenance, it kind of complicated trying to cut the grass and move all this stuff, and don't the town go through it and remove dead flowers, Bobby? And what I'm getting at is there any way we can look at like 1 flower arrangement per grave, or just to minimize some of the stuff that's going on out there in that cemetery?
We could. We have the wording in there, and has been in there to, I forget what it is exactly, basically unsightly flowers and plants and stuff. I think we ran into a couple issues in the past where what we considered unsightly wasn't considered unsightly by who it was, whose grave it was on. But we could limit the number of arrangements out there if that's what y'all would like to do. Maybe a single, like some private cemeteries, I think they're more strict on that.
But how much control do we have over that? Don't they buy these lots?
They do, but we could set more strict requirements on what can be.
Do you get a deed to it when you buy it?
You do. Mm-hmm. Which basically just gives them the right to buried human remains on there. That's about all it grants.
But that's the only right to have.
Right.
And we control everything else.
Right.
It's kind of like an easement deed.
I know, and also, Bobby, the grave diggers, all dirt should be removed off the site, the remaining, I know that they dumping dirt all over the cemetery. There's piles of dirt where left over from a grave, they'll dump it.
Yeah.
I think something should be in there about, you know, any excess dirt should be carried away.
Well, they've been told
I know they've been
verbally not
told,
to,
but,
yeah.
you know,
Okay.
I'm just trying to get to a point, a little beautification to the cemetery since, you know, it's a main entrance to East Wake Academy, you know, and, you know, people go by there a lot. And, you know, I just want it to look good and not tacky.
All right. Okay.
Mayor, let me interject.
Yes.
If the board feels strongly about putting specific language into the ordinance, then they should motion this back to the staff. If they don't feel strongly, they would just adopt this ordinance as presented. So it's y'all's call on how important this is. If it's real important to you, it needs to be written in, or else we can't enforce it.
Or we could adopt and come back and adopt again.
That's correct.
Yeah, you sort of took the words out of my mouth.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I appreciate it. So, you know, we could do it either way. What really started the conversation on this was the amount of cremains that could be in any one plot. So this allows 2 and in some cases 3 in one plot. Now, I will point out that I've been told by the monument people that our plots are much bigger than normal. Now, not that makes a whole lot of difference, but just something for you to know. The last question that I have, and this may really sound bizarre, but the thought crossed my mind. We have a lot of places over there with rock. So if someone wanted to drill a rock and place a cremains urn in it, then they wouldn't have to have a vault. Because you can't, you'd have to really blast some rock if you did it. I don't know that anybody'd really want to do that. It's a thought I had. I don't know. If somebody, what we might do is sell those cheaper so that somebody would buy them and then drill them out, you know, kind of offset some of the drilling costs and would make more space available.
It seems to me that we need to go ahead and pass this and then come back and talk about some of these other issues that we can add to it.
That's fine. I take that as a
That
motion.
would be the reasonable way to handle the situation.
Okay. You take that as a
I'll make
motion?
that as a motion.
Okay. The motion is to go ahead and adopt this as presented, but let staff come back with other modifications after we've had time to discuss them.
Second.
So the motion's been made and seconded. Are there any other comments or discussion?
I'm just thinking about the time, and would we, by not doing this motion, would we get to it faster, or would we do it a year from now? I just,
Well,
you know, what I brought up, I'd like to see done, you know, without, you know, waiting 6 months or a year before we ever discuss it again.
is there a certain number you'd want to limit the arrangements to, like 1, 2, as far as allowing out there? A single arrangement, or?
A single arrangement where? At the main thing? Then you've got your plots and see. Then you have one on each plot.
Per gravesite is what I'm.
One
what I'm
per
thinking.
grave site.
I mean, you got,
Okay.
you got stuffed animals, you got, and Christmas trees, you got, you know, it's just ridiculous to have that stuff out there.
Well, maybe, it seems like to me, this is something that we can work out at a work session or something.
Well, the other thing about that is that, well, one, you might want 2 per site if you've got 2 people buried there. You might want to put a time limit. But the other thing is that typically, when there's been a funeral, there's a lot of flowers that are carried over there. So it might be okay to put them there for some specified period of time, a week, 2 weeks, you know, something that, to clean it back up. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Okay, other comments? All right, we have a motion on the floor to adopt and ask staff to look into these other matters and bring it back to us. Any other comments? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, and the motion carries. Thank you. All right, new business, right-of-way abandonment for Hendricks Drive. All right.
The discussion before you is not intended to be the public hearing for the discussion, but I have some pictures and some maps just to give you a feel for where the right-of-way is located to help decide whether or not you want to move forward with holding a public hearing on the right-of-way. So I've got a aerial. Again, this is Hendricks Drive off of North Randall Avenue. This is the right-of-way delineation shown on a just kind of overall map. So you have the credit union here, and then Eden's Oil, and then the properties to the north there by Parish and the Animal Hospital. So this is a older layout. I've got a few others that this is a more recent one. This was the map that was recorded back in September 4th, earlier this month, based on the resolution that was adopted that granted the town of Zebulon the right-of-way behind Parish Realty. So this is Hendricks Drive that continues west. You have BB&T's property to the north, Wilco Hess property to the south. So the highlighted area here is what's included within the resolution of intent 2019-07. So should you choose to move forward with a public hearing, that would be the portion of Hendricks Drive that would be included within that public hearing. Again, this is might be a little hard to see. This is the part of the application map. Once you close a public right-of-way, half of the right-of-way goes to each adjoining property owner. So the map that's included within the application shows the surveyed line, that the right-of-way total, and then the proposed new boundary should it be closed during the public hearing. Again, the statutes regarding closure of a public right-of-way is 168-299. It would take an adoption of a resolution that's before you tonight to declare its intent to close the public alley or street in this case. You would be setting a date for the public hearing, and then if you do adopt the resolution setting that date, the next public hearing is unfortunately going to be November the 5th. We can't meet the 4 successive weeks of advertising to meet the October dates. That's why it's being pushed to November 5th for the public hearing. But a copy is then sent to all the adjoining property owners, and then we have to post a sign in two locations along the street. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Question?
Mark, how does that affect development back in there if somebody wanted to develop it and it's been, and that right-of-way been closed? How does that affect Hendricks Drive like from extending on to a development back there?
It doesn't shorten, I'll kind of flip back and forth, but as you can see, Hendricks Drive does extend north some. Now, BB&T has a drive that is not shown on this map where they put the fuel farm in for the fuel storage of their emergency of the generators and such to fuel that. The Wilco Hess property, the plans that are being looked at, there is a right-of-way that is kind of being shown going into the backside of the credit union. So that would provide access to any development that would be to the north, kind of on the backside of the Wilco Hess property. There is a stream that kind of runs along the property boundary with Highway 64. So there is some limitations in how far back the development can occur. But it does, even shortening it up just a little bit, still provides access for any future development to the north or south.
So that is the closing. It's not the behind the parish and the hospital, the animal hospital and stuff. It's an extension of Hendricks Drive, right?
Hendricks Drive, that is going to be a service road. It hasn't been named yet, but that is going to be a service road to access a lot of these properties, since a lot of the drives are going to be kind of gone away with some of the sidewalk and curb and gutter. So it'll provide rear access to serve those developments. But Hendricks Drive still extends beyond that, what we're calling a service road for now. So Hendricks will still extend, and it will just stop. I think that's around 262 feet or so.
Well, Hendricks would dead end at the end of that, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Originally, Dale, that Hendricks was proposed to turn to the north and come on around and come back out down there somewhere around.
Yeah, that's what that was my thing.
It kind of extended and looped around.
It was supposed, Hendricks was supposed to go around behind those properties, correct?
I believe when, prior to BB&T constructing, they had part of that right-of-way closed because it did cut through the middle of their property.
Okay.
So, I mean, we could still call it Hendricks when you make a right turn, or name it whatever else we want to name it, but, yeah. Other questions?
I still didn't get my answer, really. How does it affect the development back there? I mean, the use of that right-of-way, what becomes of that now? Since it's closed and you just can't use it anymore?
Well, the right-of-way goes half to each
Can
property
only use it
owner.
for gas truck? I'm just getting it, what can it be used for after it's closed?
It could be used for, certainly any new development would have to meet the setbacks to the new property line. But I don't think shortening of it based on what they're proposing is going to limit the ability to develop either track.
What is the purpose of closing it anyway?
Just gives them a little bit more development opportunity to expand their site, and I think part of the right-of-way may limit the use of some of either BB&T's long-range plans for their site or Wilco Hess site as well.
Would this property be designated to them, or is it?
It will be divided in half. If you can kind of see the line here that cuts through the middle. So half of the right-of-way goes to the south to Wilco Hess, the other half goes to the north to BB&T. So the right-of-way will terminate right about here.
So Wilco Hess, they can use it if they build?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because they're gonna have half of it.
They still have to meet other ordinances, but they could use it for developable land for the site.
To me, the question is, do both property owners have access to their property? And the answer is yes. Wilco Hess has however many feet off that 60-foot right-of-way that is remaining, and then, of course, BB&T does as well. So any development would have what it is.
I just can't figure out why we need to close it. That's what I can figure out. What's the need of it? They can use it. Why close it?
I understand. I don't know. They may want to fence it. I don't know. Okay.
Okay, this is just for public hearing, right?
That's correct. It's just setting the date for the public hearing.
All right.
Other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we adopt Resolution 2/1907.
Motion made and second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor? And the motion carries. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Chris, Shepherd Park, roadway storm drainage acceptance.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Tonight we come before you requesting your consideration of acceptance of the Shepherd Park Phase 1 development for roadways and storm drainage. Just as a reminder, Shepherd's Park Phase 1 is a 124-lot subdivision. It is located off Old Bun Road and is directly across from Shepherd's Point subdivision. Our work to date has been inspected and approved by Public Works. All necessary reports and certifications have been provided to staff and approved. The developer has posted a $1.57 million letter of credit on file with the Planning Department for remaining items such as final overlays, conversion of sedimentation basins to BMPs, and amenities on the site such as their clubhouse. Public Works Department recommends approval of Resolution 2019-08, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have, sir.
Question?
So they've met all the improvements that was required?
Yes, sir. They have met all the improvements outlined in the TRC plans that were approved in July 2017. And all the special use requirements that went along with that was approved by the board, they have complied with all of those.
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2019-08.
Second.
Motion made and second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor? And the motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, we have two requests for one streetscape matching. Who's going to do that?
I'm going to take care of that, sir.
Okay.
Tonight we come in front of you to ask consideration to provide matching funds from your streetscape matching policy in the amount of $662 for 4 civic groups to provide civic logo signs to our welcome to downtown sign. Those 4 civic groups are Zebulon Rotary Club, Zebulon Lions, Zebulon Women's Club, and the Masonic Lodge. In your packet, and I apologize I didn't have a rendering, but in your packet you should see this modification to our downtown sign where we include the new 15-inch diameter hardware across there so their logos can be applied on that. You know, we'll be accomplishing that by raising the existing sign up and putting that hardware in. So there'll be opportunity for these 4 civic groups to put their logos on it. And we'll also provide opportunities to 2 future groups that come in that would like to participate in this program and have their logos added to our downtown sign. To date, all the nonprofit groups have provided Public Works with their share of the funding. They provided all the necessary electronic artwork. This staff will recommend doing this approval of this process to a requested match in funds of $662.50. Just a reminder, your budget for this streetscape match is $8,000. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Question? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this request.
I second it.
Motion made, second. Other comments or discussion?
I just had one comment.
Sure.
Can I read in here somewhere on this that this was only for the downtown?
Yes, sir. It is only for the downtown sign on South Arundel Avenue. Yes, sir.
No, I'm talking about the overlay district. Is that not what I read in here? Or did I miss
It's in the streets. It's in the overlay district for the streetscape match.
the only place you can have it?
That's the only place you can have it and have matching funds. part of the streetscape. You can put, if we wanted to do it on this other one, just north of the complex there, we could do it, but it would not be eligible as part of a matching grant at this time.
Okay, I understand then. Thank you.
Other questions? All in favor? And the motion carries. Thank you. Downtown beautification project.
Yes, sir. This is the second request tonight. This request is for consideration for Phase 2 of the planning project and beautification projects provided by the Zebulon Women's Club, the Steel Magnolias Club, Do For Him Ministries, and ZDAC. They're requesting matching funds of $2,000 tonight to continue their beautification project that they have started. Like I say, they have made the commitment to manage and to maintain and water these flowers on a regular basis in pots. This request will be managed on a reimbursement basis, and due to the success of the first phase, staff is recommending that we award matching grants of $2,000 to the 4 nonprofit civic groups. Be glad to answer any questions. And just for record, with the appropriation previously, we have $7,338.50 left in that budget.
Question? What's your pleasure?
I make a motion again that we approve the downtown beautification project, Part 2.
Second.
Motion made and second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we need to designate a voting delegate at the annual league conference, which comes up actually next week, the 19th anyway. Anyway, I don't know how many of you are going. I am going. I'll be there. For the
Are
whole
you
thing.
eligible to be the voting member?
I am, yes,
I
sir.
make a motion that we appoint the mayor as the voting delegate.
Thank you. Comments or discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. All right, Dale, I'll start on your end. You got anything?
No, I don't have anything.
Don?
No, I don't have anything.
Are you prepared for the hurricane, the town? Everybody's be good? That's good news.
Beverly?
No.
Gene? Okay, Joe?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. I'd like to recognize Chief Perry to give all of us an update on the hurricane and what each of us as citizens can do to prepare for the hurricane.
Thank you. Your question was very much in order. Are we prepared for the hurricane? I can recall growing up, everything I heard about was Hurricane Hazel. Hazel was what people told me about, and in my career, Hurricane Fran has been the predominantly storm. If things go like they're being forecast, Hurricane Florence will live up to those same and possibly eclipse what we know about both of those storms. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they're wrong. I hope we don't see any of it. But give you just a quick little update on what we know about Hurricane Florence, Category 4. What is described by the National Weather Service at their 5:30 briefing as we are at the worst case scenario with possible catastrophic damage in the state of North Carolina. So I don't say that to over dramatize it, but to emphasize the seriousness of what's going on. Because this storm is going to pack not only the winds that come with a powerful hurricane, but they do believe that it's going to slow down and cause a huge rain event, 10 to 15, possibly 20 inches of rain. As it comes through. So again, we hope that we see a change in the forecast as we go through. I wanted to give you just a little bit of update of what's going on, and as Joe said, to tell you what we can do. One, at the county level, there's a lot of work going on. There's a lot of work going back up one step. At the town level, are we ready? We're definitely preparing to do all we can do. Every department is doing what it needs to do to prepare, and even tomorrow we'll follow up as we begin to come together and talk about what we're going to do as a town to respond to this hurricane. At the county level, there's a lot of shelter work going on, a lot of preparation. Wake County is one of the host shelters for coastal relocation. So when you hear about coastal evacuees, they got to go somewhere. So a lot of those will be housed at the Knightdale High School and at several other high schools within our county. So there's a lot of shelter work going on. Even when you look at the state level, the State Emergency Operations Center has been staffed up, and they're beginning to staff swift water rescue teams and urban search and rescue teams for collapses, and they're mobilizing those teams and to begin to put them in strategic areas of the state. And even, and as you may have seen at the state level, there's already been a declaration of an emergency disaster, as well as that is currently being considered by the federal government through FEMA is considering whether they can go ahead and declare. So that gives you a little bit of the feeling of what people are expecting. They're beginning to relocate resources. The federal government, that is relocating resources to respond to this disaster, much like they did to Hurricane Katrina and similar events. So we're seeing those resources are arriving in the state now. So what do people need to do? That's the big question. And my goal or my message to them has been the same that what we're looking internally is prepare for prolonged power outages. That's probably the biggest thing people can do. The more people can be self-sustaining for these first 2 to 3 days that this storm arrives, the better off they're going to be through water and whatever means necessary that they have to be able to be self-sufficient for those first 2 to 3 days. We know there's going to be extended power outages because there's been forecasts that the high winds may continue for a matter of a couple of days. And if that does, that's just going to delay getting power cut back on. Beyond that, one of the issues that we're going to see, we saw it in Matthew, and Chris and I talked about it earlier, was the flooding that came from Hurricane Matthew. We could obviously see with this amount of rain, we could see a lot of flooding, and that's not going to go away in a matter of hours or days. So although you hear it a lot, turn around, don't drown. I know Chief Hayworth had mentioned that in some of his information that he's distributing, and it couldn't be truer, because in Hurricane Matthew, we had several instances where people thought they could drive through water, and we end up having to get rescue teams, swift water rescue teams, to come into Zebulon to rescue those people. So the best advice I could give people is when you see standing water in the roadway, turn around and find another way around. But beyond that, we're preparing. I would dare say every department is doing all we can do to get prepared. I know for us it's a matter of staffing up and being prepared, and I know everybody else is doing some of the same work. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, Joe, if there's anything else you'd like me to cover.
Can you make reference to the app about the preparation, the Get Ready?
Yes, thank you very much. One app that it's not used a whole lot, which I highly recommend, is the Ready NC app. We've pushed that out on social media, especially in previous storms, and we'll continue to push that out. But you can get power outage information, you can get checklist information. If you can report power outages through that app. That app is put out by the state of North Carolina, and it's an excellent tool for dealing with not only hurricanes but other severe weather emergencies as well. Thank you, Joe.
Do you have any idea about the water situation as far as Raleigh water is concerned, what we'd be getting?
As far as the actual water supply?
Yeah.
I don't know if Chris could answer. He may have better indications on that.
I'd like to do, sir, to speak to the previous experiences that I've had and had with the city of Raleigh. I know their crews are out now doing preventative maintenance on their booster stations and also on their lift stations, making sure their generators are in act and working. They'll have staff on and available around the clock to do their best to keep power up. All the sites here in Zebulon, whether it's the old water plant, which is basically a booster station now, and all the lift stations have backup generator power and their own SCADA. So even though City Raleigh might not personally be there, they're monitoring their systems remotely, and we'll be taking appropriate actions.
Chris, I got a question.
Sure.
Which what did I say?
Well, there's two of them.
Well, either one. Chris, do we have a temporary shelter we can say, I know we don't have an emergency shelter, but say we need to evacuate some people, and I know we have a shelter. Is it East Wake?
Yeah,
Is that a shelter?
the nearest, well, let me back up the county has pre-designated facilities that have already been designated as shelter sites. And most of those involve the school sites. But the variable on school sites is the availability of power. So for example, if the middle school were to have power, they could very easily use Zebulon Middle as one of their shelter sites. However, if the entire area is without power, our nearest backup generator site would be either at Knightdale High School would be their primary. There may be some backup power at East Wake High School. They went to high schools first to start putting in emergency generators for shelter status. So Knightdale High is the original one, but again, starting tomorrow about 2 o'clock, Knightdale High will begin to fill with coastal evacuees. So I would not be surprised to see that the county doesn't try to initiate more shelters because, again, they're going to start filling them up with coastal evacuees.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Is there any place here we can designate as a temporary shelter just in case we have to evacuate some elderly that's on oxygen and that they can't go so long without power.
Exactly.
And the shelters probably won't be full.
Sure.
Do we have anywhere temporary that we could?
And that's part of what we'll be looking at, because the what I would refer to as a full-blown shelter has a lot of different components. Somewhere to bring your pets, some health care provisions are provided, security provisions, food, meals. All of those are encompassed under the umbrella of a shelter. So there are facilities that maybe provide levels of that are less than what I'm just describing. And that's what we're going to look at is that something we need to provide? Reception centers, welcome centers, some people call them. And if nothing else, it's a place to get people out of the weather until we can get them to a more permanent shelter that has food and that kind of thing. But we don't have anything, I guess to answer your question, we don't have anything formally designated. We have some facilities that could fit that bill, but there's nothing been pre-designated for that purpose.
Because you may not be able to get to these places. Trees down, water. I'm just worried about what will you do if somebody calls and say, I can't stand it long, I got to have power. What are you going to put these people? I just want you to say, you got somewhere to put them. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to hear. Mm-hmm. Here, we got a generator, right?
That's correct.
Can you say that we got somewhere we can put them?
Yeah, I think that's something we need to decide. Where is the most appropriate? There's already been some inquiries about can we house people at the fire station? It's a building most definitely with emergency power, but it gets very, very busy during a hurricane.
Oh yeah.
So that's the kind of conversations we'll have: is what are our options and what can we designate, or do we have facilities that could meet that need?
I thought that as a backup one time, I was told that the community center could be used, and I'm thinking, I don't think it has a generator, but it does have a generator.
The community center does have a generator.
So, but I know I had inquired a while back just about designation and was told it really wouldn't be designated, but it would always be available as a backup.
Mm-hmm. And I think those are the options we need to, and we're going to try to nail a lot of that down tomorrow as we come together as a group, what our options are, and Joe May could speak to that as well.
I'll just be candid. I think it's going to be unrealistic that we can provide that kind of a service. I think that we're going to have to be strongly coordinated with Wake County and make them aware of buildings that we have. I think it would be disingenuous to suggest that we can provide this service through the town of Zebulon.
But won't Red Cross come and set up showers? And if we got to a point where we needed to feed or house anybody, Joe?
Can you speak a little bit to how the reporting during the event works and how provisions get enacted as situations and conditions on the ground change?
Yeah, the way the things were, once we exceed our capabilities, which this would be definitely something that would be in that category, we make the request to the county to fulfill that need. The county tries to fulfill that need if they have the resources to do it. The issue that comes up with an event of this magnitude is everybody wants the same thing. There's not enough resources to accommodate. But that need, if it can't be met at at the county level, it gets pushed up to the state level, again, in attempts to try to meet the need through the resource management, the emergency management system that is in place. If that's what you're looking for. Anything else?
No.
Beverly, you have anything? Any? Well, I've already been down there. Weird, man. Sorry about that. Had a brain glitch.
No, sir, that's all I had to report.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I moved.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is yours a second?
Yeah. Second.
We're adjourned.
Didn't hear.
Does she move that back? Was that the closed session? Does she move that back? Was that the closed session?
No, it wasn't.